Hi, Assalamualaikum to Dr. Nushila and my fellow friends. So today, me and my team members will present about our project assignment. So our case study is about Co-op daily sales data in December 2022. So we are from group 7. Okay, firstly, what is the objective of this project? So the objective of this project is firstly to gather relevant and suitable data for our case study project. Second, to understand the concept that we study from chapter 1 to chapter 6. And lastly, to perform the calculation using the data collected from the chapter 1 for the chapter 1 until chapter 6. Okay, so for chapter 1, I took the data for daily data sales for AM and PM at the convenience store in Co-op Mart. So this is the data that I get, and I divide it into the range, and this is for AM and this is for PM, and the graph also. So next step for chapter 1 is, so firstly I will find the cumulative distribution function of discrete random variable for AM for the daily sales and for PM. And below this is the formula that I used for the variance and the standard deviation of the discrete random variable. So this is the formula. And then next for the question is, firstly I find the mean, then variance, and lastly is standard deviation. Same goes to for PM cell. Okay, so lastly for my part is chapter 2, which is situation of the distribution. So we must choose the situation whether binomial, Poisson, or normal distribution. So for our case, we choose Poisson distribution case. So for the question, we ask for the expected number, variance, and standard deviation, and also the probability that related to the question. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. My name is Nurhanim Syahidah binti Hazilan. My matric number CN210127. I would like to explain about chapter 3, which is sampling distribution. For sampling distribution, is a sample mean or sample standard deviation. Is a number computed from a sample. Since a sample is random, every statistic is a random variable. It varies from the sample to sample in a way that cannot be predicted with certainty. As a random variable, it has a mean, standard deviation, and a probability distribution. Probability distribution of a statistic is called a sampling distribution. Typically, sample statistics that are not n themselves but are computed in order to estimate a corresponding population parameter. Aside from that, this chapter will introduce the concept of the mean, standard deviation, and the sampling distribution of the sample statistic that we propose, and with the emphasis of the sample mean. Firstly, for this question, we should find the mean and standard deviation using the frequency range table, and get the value for mean, which is 6.2, and also for standard deviation 1.95. After that, we must find the probability sample for 31 day between the 6.1 and 6.3. For probability 6.1, we got the negative 0.29, and also for 6.3, we got 0.29. This is the method that we get the probabilities value for the sample mean. With the value of x, subtract with the value of the sample mean, and then we must divide the value of the standard deviation by the total sample, which is 31 days in December 2022. Then we use calculator to find the value of P for the negative 0.29 and got the value, which is 0.614. And then for the 0.29, we got the 0.386. After we get the both value, we must subtract this value, which is 0.614 and 0.38, and got the value 0.228. This is a graph for the sampling distribution that we use. The first graph we shade the left side because the p-value is negative 0.29, and for the second graph we shade the left and right side because of the p-value is the 0.29, and the third graph we shade the both side because this is the total value for the p, which is 0.228.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nasabah Demti Su'ad. My metric number is CN210329. So, I present about chapter 4, which is estimation. I am using the data of Murtabak Maggi daily sales in THM, Cohort for December 2022. So, first of all, according to the data, we need to find estimates for mean, variance and standard deviation by using the formula. Hence, we get the value of 120.48 for mean, 2155.42 for variance, and 46.43 for standard deviation. Then, the question is to find the 95% confidence intervals for population mean. So, the confidence level is 1 minus 0.95, which is 0.05. Therefore, the confidence coefficient obtained is from the table is 1.96. Lastly, we insert all the value to the formula and we get the range of the population mean of Murtabak Maggi daily sales, which is between RM104.40 and RM136.3. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Ayun Sofia. I will explain about chapter 5 in our project. In this chapter, we use a sample of cell Murtabak Maggi. We create the question based on the single population mean. So, the question for this chapter is a sample Murtabak Maggi that sold in Cohort of December 2022 was taken in 31 days. During this month, an average of the sale Murtabak Maggi was 120.48, with standard deviation of 46.38. Does this seem to indicate that the mean sale Murtabak in January 2023 is greater than 100? Use a 0.0 level of significance. To solve this question, first of all, we need to identify all the information given from the question. You can see from the question, the number of the sample is 31. The standard deviation is 46.38. The sample mean is 120.48. The mean is more than 100. And lastly, we need to use the APA 0.01. In step 1, we need to clarify the original claim. So for the null hypothesis, the mean is equal to 100. And the alternative hypothesis, the mean is more than 100. For step 2, we use one-tailed test because the alternative hypothesis is more than 100. From the all information given, we assume that this is a case A, normal distribution. After that, we find the Z critical from the table normal distribution. So, the Z critical is equal to 2.3263. After that, in step 3, we use case A formula for Z test. So, we put all the value in the formula and we get the answer of 2.4586. So, we can say that in step 4, the test value is 2.4586, which are more than critical value. So, the decision is to reject the null hypothesis. And lastly, for step 5, there is enough evidence to support the claim that the mean sale of Murtabak Maggi in January 2023 is greater than RM100. That's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Ainul Afrina and my metric number is CN210264. Now I'm going to present the last chapter of the subject, Simple Line Regression. Based on the table shown is the number of sales and total sales of Co-op daily sales in December for printing only. First off, we need to do the scatter plot for the data. Secondly, as I already calculated the x power of 2, y power 2 and xy, it is easier for me to calculate the least square line, coefficient of determination and also the correlation of the Pearson. The second question asks to find the equation of the least square line that enables us to predict the total sales in terms of the number of sales. Here is the equation. Third, They asked us to predict the total sales in January, which reached 70 numbers of sales daily. At the end of the answer, we rounded off to the nearest unit. Last question is to find the coefficient determination and correlation of Pearson. The difference between coefficient of determination and coefficient of Pearson is that the coefficient of determination is to show how accurately a statistically model predicts an outcome is expressed by the coefficient of determination, which has range between 0 to 1. Meanwhile, the coefficient of Pearson correlation measures the strength and direction of a linear relationship between two variables. When R is between 0 to plus minus 0.5, the correlation between the variables is positively weak and negatively weak. But when R is between plus minus 0.5 or 1, the correlation between the variables is positively strong or negatively strong. There is no correlation between the variables when R is equal to 0.